What is going on, my fellow geeks, and welcome back to Raving Geeks.
I do have a media recommendation.
I love Lord of the Rings. Superheroes, movies, a little jack of all trades, I guess.
So what makes me a geek?
What is going on, my fellow geeks, and welcome back to, you guessed it, Raving Geeks, your weekly pop culture podcast from Central Michigan Life, where we discuss all things geek culture, which is like high culture, but better. If this is your first time joining us, make sure you follow the CM Life Instagram and Twitter pages for updates on the podcast, and look for us wherever you find your podcasts, including YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on our website at www.cm-life.com. My name is Brendan Valentine, coming to you from Stark Tower this week, and I'd like to thank you all for joining me and my fellow co-hosts today, who will introduce themselves in a second with our question of the week. This week's question, actually, this one comes from us because we wanted to answer this one. This week's question is, who would you want to play you in a movie adaptation of your life? I shall start. I have been told, or I was told throughout high school that I reminded people of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. So I think my default answer is Jim Parsons. However, if I could have anyone, like ignoring like whether they look or sound or act like me, I think I'd go with Josh Brolin. After seeing him play Cable and Thanos, I really want him to bring that vibe to me as a person. Just like, you know, me going to like my freshman year biology class and they're like, Brendan, what do you think about this question on evolution? And it's like, I will cause the next evolution of humanity. Or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I want to hear Josh Brolin like make me sound cool.
I'm sorry, little one.
I'm sorry, little one.
So it's gonna be mostly lying about your life.
Yes, exactly. This is a movie adaptation. They have some leeway.
It's based on actual or inspired by
true events.
There you go.
Yeah, they just got my hometown right, and then the rest I fight off an alien invasion.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well that's me.
All right. So Isaac Hunter here. Hello, dutiful audience. If there was a movie adaptation on my life, I was thinking about this for a while. And I decided to go the more comedic route of I would want an overhead narration by Michael Caine. But then I would want myself played by Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Yes. We love the man that never ages.
On TikTok.
Yeah, almost like internal monologue is like, there I was. Or Michael Caine, I can't even do his voice.
Michael Caine.
Yeah. Why do we fall down? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up again.
That's the first and last line of the movie. And the whole movie's just Paul Rudd like physically like tripping and being clumsy.
Yeah, a lot of slapstick humor, just like in real life.
Are you okay, buddy?
I've broken many bones.
Oh no.
Hope?
Well, on that note, hey everyone, I'm Hope Gutterall. I also went the comedic route, but not in Isaac's way. I went more like new girl thinking. So, and I had trouble coming up with my second answer because I chose Zooey Deschanel to play me.
Good choice, good choice.
Because I feel like how she plays Jess on New Girl is very much like on point. But I have to have my best friend in there that I've known since 6th grade. And so I originally put Jennifer Lawrence, but then I started remembering that Hilary Duff is going to be in How I Met Your Father, and I was like, maybe Hilary Duff would be better.
Oh.
But like, I also don't know which would be better for her. But I would need my best friend in the comedy. So, yeah.
Nice.
Understandable.
Speaking of Zooey Deschanel, I just saw a meme the other day. It was like, I didn't understand how like people didn't see that Clark Kent was Superman until I saw Zooey Deschanel without bangs.
But it's a different person.
Like just you see her as Jess, and then like she's like doesn't have bangs, and it's like a different style of makeup than Jess would have, and that's it.
It's like,
that's the only difference.
There's Zooey Deschanel, and then there's the girl that was an elf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
So,
aren't the same person. Are you kidding me? She's blonde. She
no, not
doesn't
at
have
all.
glasses. No.
Exactly.
Oh man.
So, well, thank you all very much. I think we've given HBO or Netflix or whoever wants to take on these adaptations good casting advice. So now let's get things started with some geek news. Anyone got some juicy news for us this week?
I can start since mine's kind of a negative news. Puts the N in news. No, it's just that Marvel has officially, I guess, canceled the Guardians of the Galaxy's comic series.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Like
I got
there's
really confused at first because I thought they were talking about the movies, and then yeah, I read it was the comics, which aren't there only
yeah.
like 10 comics or something in it too?
No, I mean they're a good amount of comics because they started with like the old Guardians of the Galaxies, you know, like Yondu and stuff. Like I have a comic from that, and that started I think in the 90s, if not 80s. But I guess it's kind of just like it's gone for so long because so they have a what was once one of Marvel's highest rated ongoing series is no more. As of this past Wednesday, Guardians of the Galaxies has been canceled by the House of Ideas. But the last issue of the publishers, The Last Annihilation, even slowing down to its final moments, lettering on the last page declared the end of the run reading. And it says, the end, thanks for everything, and see you at Gosnell's. And Gosnell's is like a bar in space. And obviously like Marvel Comics is so big that like anyone can, you know, the way it works is that you can have another adaptation, but it just, there's no like mainstream, like ongoing comic, I guess, that they're pursuing, which is pretty interesting. I guess this is just like the standard Guardians of the Galaxy as a title, not like Rocket and Groot or anything, you know.
Well, I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy has never been one of their biggest selling comics. Like after the
No.
movie, I think there was a spike, but
Yeah,
like
definitely.
that was a big bet throwing the Guardians in a movie when they did it, and that it paid off. Eternals is like something similar where like they had a really good run, but like the Eternals comics like right now are not.
Yeah.
They're not being talked about as much. Doesn't I'm pretty sure they still exist though. So that's sad to see because those are good characters.
But
But
yeah,
anyway,
so
my news is also Marvel related. As of right now, at the time we're recording this, but a few days ago when y'all are hearing it, Venom: Let There Be Carnage has officially been released in theaters. And then a few days ago, from when we're now recording this, Tom Hardy and Andy Serkis, the director of Venom: Let There Be Carnage, asked fans and urged fans to stay till the very end and promise not to spoil the end credit scene of the movie. Um, Obviously, that like normally goes without saying, like don't spoil it and like stick to the end for most Marvel movies. But the fact that Tom Hardy went out of his way to urge fans not to makes me think there might be some multiverse action coming in. So that was an interesting quote. Also, I didn't realize Andy Serkis was the director of this movie. So
yeah, neither did I until like I saw a picture of him like with Tom Hardy. I was like, wait a minute.
I was like, what's Gollum doing on
Yeah.
set? I guess in this case he'd probably be Ulysses Claw, but
Oh,
anyway, that's my news.
All right. Well, I'll start my news on the Marvel track. So Shang-Chi is officially the biggest film of 2021 with a box office total of nearly $200 million. And it's only hasn't even been out for a full month yet, I don't think. And so like it's apparently a very good movie. I still get to see it, but
it's
a
very
good movie. Yeah, it's a very good movie.
It's a top 10 Marvel movie for sure.
I believe it.
At least top 11.
Going away from Marvel, but still like having the Marvel. Tom Holland has a huge deal in place with Netflix now. The person who was writing the article said their insider person at Netflix like told them this was a thing, but like hasn't been able to get any details. So I will update y'all on that. But it's gonna be like Henry Cavill with The Witcher and Enola Holmes. So we are gonna get more Tom Holland content on Netflix. So I'm excited. Also on today that we are recording, according to Twitterverse, it is hashtag International Podcast Day. So, woo, happy International Podcast Day to us. And then my final bit of news is that there is going to be a new graphic novel / comic series that is solely based around Latinx characters. And it's so East Los Angeles based Chicana writer and director Caden Phoenix was excited that there would be more representation throughout the comic book ranks. And so she is the founder of Phoenix Studios and the creator and writer of A La Brava, a Latin superhero graphic novel series currently featuring 5 distinct Latina characters. Phoenix got the idea when she was deciding on her next feature project to write. When she wrote the script about a team of Latina superheroes, most of the people she shared it with wondered why her newest endeavor didn't include a comic book. And she goes on to say that she's never written a comic book before. So like that wasn't her first thought process, but she adapted her script into a graphic novel and recruited an all Latinx team of artists from the United States and Mexico. So it is very authentic. And so in late 2019, she released her first graphic novel, Jalisco, named for the main superhero, folklorico dancer with sharp blades sewn into her skirt. So I am super excited. They're only like $15 on the website, and so I might be getting them soon. And like I'm really excited for that because that's definitely something we need more representation of, and like good representation, not just white people writing off Latinx people as bad. So
this was a comic book that was unveiled.
Yeah.
Was this unveiled in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, or was this just a project in the works and they happened to go forward at this time?
I think it was, so the first one was released in 2019, but I don't think that like it gained any like notoriety or anything until probably recently because of Hispanic Heritage Month. And so people were looking for, Hispanic authors and everything. Yeah. And so they found this, and like I said, I am really excited. And like the artwork looks phenomenal too. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I encourage everyone to look into it.
I love hearing about new things. Yeah. Even though with this school year I don't have that much time to read new things. So I'll put it on my list for next semester. Alrighty, well that is our geek news for this week. Now we're moving on. We something we want to discuss this week. I know last week with Hope's recommendation, she recommended the Amazon Prime adaptation of Cinderella with Camila Cabello. And then that got us talking about like, hey, there's a lot of different like adaptations, and we know that like a little while ago we did one on some of our like favorite adaptations and what makes a good adaptation, but this one was a little bit different because like Cinderella is a well-known story that has been retold a couple different times and things like that. So that was what we wanted to discuss a little bit is over time, how do stories evolve and change with their time? So Hope, do you want to give us a quick little overview of what happens in the new Cinderella movie?
Okay. So the new Cinderella movie, you think that it's going to be like the regular Cinderella tale that we've known since Disney. But it's actually like more empowering to the characters, especially more the female characters. So like Camila Cabello's character, Cinderella, wants to be a fashion designer and have her own store. And of course her stepmother's like, no, you're a female. Like females don't have stores. Like that's stupid. And of course she still tries, but then like her stepsisters are actually kind of nice to her too, and like they try to support her because they're like, oh, that's really pretty, like when it comes time for the ball and everything and Cinderella comes out with the dress that she designed, her stepsisters are like, well, we're not going because she's the prettiest out of all of us.
Oh, they don't just rip it apart?
Well, Idina Menzel's stepmother throws an ink bottle on it and is like, oops, there's ink all over it. You can't go to the ball. But the other thing I liked about it was, besides the music just being like tunes that you know, like Somebody to Love by Queen, Let's Get Loud from J-Lo and Gloria Estefan. Like the male characters too, like Pierce Brosnan plays the king, and he's very like, no, my son has to find a bride, and I would prefer it to be a princess, but you know, if my son is willing to marry a commoner, then hey, he is still getting married. But he has to also change his ways and gets like tough love from his wife and everything. And so like Cinderella and the prince actually meet in the town too, because the prince goes out in disguise as a commoner. So yeah, it's really good. It also has Billy Porter in it from Kinky Boots on Broadway. And Billy Porter is fairy godmother and says the amazing line after Cinderella asks for fairy godmother to make the glass slippers comfortable, is that magic can only do so much. So
yes, we love arbitrary limitations on godlike power.
Yeah, and the fact that, you know, hey, it's women's fashion, it's gonna suck.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no pockets.
Nothing can overcome the patriarchy's design of women's footwear, not even
Which
Patrick.
I would like
or
to
magic.
point out that heels were originally designed for males.
As they
because
So they could
should.
be taller
So we can be tall.
and
So I can be as
superior.
tall as Brendan. Yes.
That's all like Brendan.
Oh yeah,
But
they didn't
yeah,
know that I was 6'5".
Ha, flats? I would never wear flat shoes.
If I wore high heels to Cedar Point, they'd kick me off the rides.
Oh, no.
I'm about that close on most of them. They give me the stink eye when I walk on them.
that's lovely. But yeah, so that adaptation, and it also, the ending is different too, but I don't want to spoil it because it's actually a good ending. Not what you're used to of like, oh, Cinderella just gets married. No, it's a good ending. And this is one of many adaptations of the Cinderella story. So behind me, if you're watching on YouTube, I have the movie poster from A Cinderella Story with Hilary Duff and Chad Michael Murray. Which I would also like to point out, his jersey colors match a very specific team that I love and are way better than whatever Hawaiian blue team is in Detroit.
We don't
Lions.
claim to be good. The fun part is losing in spectacular fashion. Did you see? Not only did we have a really bad call on us this weekend, a dude broke a record to just beat our butts.
Yes.
Okay, this isn't our sports podcast, but yeah. Anyway,
hey, we geek out about sports, so technically it's still a geek thing.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong.
She's not wrong, but I guess let's just start co-opting the other CM Life podcasts by saying you can geek out about these things and just talk about what they're going to talk about. But since we come out on Monday, we're coming out before them.
Yeah.
Don't tell them we're doing that.
Power
I really
to
hope they
geeks.
don't listen to this one.
We're trying to get them more listeners, so why would they complain about that?
Exactly. If you like this one episode, go listen to the other one. Anyway, off track.
So there are a lot of Cinderella films. So we've got Ever After starring Drew Barrymore. It's called Ever After: A Cinderella Story, which was made in 1998. In the A Cinderella franchise or Cinderella Story franchise, you have A Cinderella Story from 2004, another Cinderella Story 2008. That was with Selena Gomez.
I liked that one a lot.
You have A Cinderella Story Once Upon a Song with Lucy Hale from Pretty Little Liars. Yep.
Oh, I know Lucy Hale. She was in Supergirl for a little while, I think.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. A Cinderella Story If the Shoe Fits, which I'm suddenly blanking on her name, but the girl who was in Descendants as Evie, is in that one.
Dove Cameron?
No, Evie was the blue hair.
Daughter of who?
Sophia Carson.
Oh,
That's
okay.
who I'm thinking of. And A Cinderella Story, if the shoe fits was 2016, Once Upon a Song was 2011, and A Cinderella Story Christmas Wish was in 2019. I don't know that one. But then you've also got Ella Enchanted with Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Does that one count as a
yes.
Cinderella story?
Yes, because she has a stepmother plus the stepsisters who basically make her do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So it's that same archetype.
And
Yeah.
Godmother. Yep. Okay, that makes sense.
And I think there was something else, but I'm blanking. Oh, Rodgers and Hammerstein.
I was waiting for that. I was like, all of those.
Yeah, Cinderella movie plus the musical, Rodgers and Hammerstein's musical. So not just the movie where a black woman and a white man have an Asian son.
He's an Asian man. He's an Asian man.
Yes, he's an Asian man, but like
I was in the musical in high school, Rodgers and Hammerstein. Not saying I prefer it to Disney Cinderella, but
oh, don't let Disney hear you say that.
But the prince has a very long name. Christopher, Rupert, Windermere, Vladimir, Carl, Francois, a few more.
And then there's also the live action Cinderella, right? In Disney's like lineup of live action remakes.
Yeah, with she just played didn't she just play in the sequel of Mamma Mia?
Yeah.
As Donna.
Yeah. Plus, there's all the Into the Woods features Cinderella and goes over that story. So the Broadway and movie.
Yep.
So basically, what I'm hearing is ever since Disney co-opted the Cinderella idea in what year was the original Disney version released?
19 something. It was after Snow White.
And Snow White was in like the 30s.
Yeah.
We have Google.
I was gonna say I'm Googling it right now.
Well, anyway,
1950.
1950. So ever since Disney co-opted it in 1950, there's been lots and lots and lots of spin-offs, all with different themes. Well, but are you aware that Cinderella has a history from before Disney co-opted the story in 1950? Yes.
It's not Grimm, it's Henderson, right?
It's
even before that.
Charles Perrault.
Yes, Perrault, I believe. As a French major. Yeah, as a French major. I'm very excited to talk about this part.
Oh, it is Perrault.
Oh, yes. So basically, back in like 1698 is when like the original like fairy tale came up, and then it got turned into like what is it? A play, like in France's version of Broadway. Like an opera. I think it was technically considered an opera with acts and everything that go through the same like the gist of it. Like where she's called Cendrillon in French.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, Cendrillon. It's the whole like Cendrillon wants to go to the ball, evil stepmother and stepsisters don't want her to go, and then like fairy godmother comes in, goes to the ball, Cendrillon comes back from the ball, and then that whole archetype comes from that story, and that's the same gist that got transferred into Disney. But then now we've got all the new ones, which are slightly different. Which,
if you also want to go with the so the other title for the book of Cinderella was The Little Glass Slipper, which like makes sense because it's glass slipper. But like the Grimm version, if you want a closer adaptation of the Grimm version, it is in the play that we were just saying. Oh my gosh.
Into the Woods.
Into Woods, thank you.
Yeah, the cutting of toes and heels.
And the heels and the birds gouging out the eyes.
Blindness. And
that's the other really cool thing about all the like Brothers Grimm like fairy tales we tell them now or retell them now is now they're meant for kids, and before they were meant for kids, but they were meant to scare children from not leaving the house.
And don't be a princess. Don't go to balls.
Well, it's not even that. Like with the Cinderella one, it's like, yeah, don't disobey your like authority figures. Like don't fall for magic. That's the devil's stuff. It's like
Okay.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
it's stuff like that, or like what's another Grimm? Is Hansel and Gretel brothers Grimm?
Yep, I think
Yeah.
so.
Don't one of them actually end up getting eaten in the original version? Like the witch eats one of them, and the other one just barely escapes with their life, and is like,
Yeah,
"Don't
'cause I
go in the
think they
woods,
actually,
kids."
yeah, because they get like tricked into getting into the oven and or like into a
Yeah.
pie or something.
I mean, either way, they kill the witch, which is still dark.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or you've got Red Riding Hood, that in some adaptations, this like 12, 13-year-old girl goes and sleeps with the wolf.
sleeps with the wolf. I thought she gutted him.
That too.
In the
Oh.
in some of the originals, she actually lays with the wolf and hears
The biblical
his
sense.
brethren howling outside. Yeah.
Well, that's lovely. I had a train of thought and that derailed it. Good.
Fairy tales were dark originally, is what we're
Yeah.
going with.
And I don't know if any of you've ever seen like Family Guy's take on some of these. It's like there's the like they had a cutaway one time. It's like that's darker than a German bedtime story. And it's like once there was a boy who liked to suck his thumbs. His mother told him to stop, but he would not. So she cut off his thumbs. Now he has no thumbs. The end. And like that's the story. And then when they retell all like the Brothers Grimm fairy tales, they all end with like a brutal chainsaw massacre and stuff like that.
Doesn't surprise
So,
me
like-
for Family Guy.
No, but like that kind of used to be the point of some of these stories is like a warning, but now it's like a romanticized version of like follow your dreams, like with most of these modern versions, which I think is
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yep. Which I will say, like the new Cinderella movie on Amazon Prime, like I was really happy. It was like more of a follow your dreams than you need a prince to come save you and your life will be perfect after the prince. Like,
Well, in medieval Europe, if like royalty wanted you by their side, that was the only way you got out of poverty. So not the 1950s, but like significantly before that, that was a good lesson. Like marry rich, then we don't starve. But also like maybe that's not the best thing to do nowadays.
especially not with little girls trying to
Yeah.
enforce that. Yeah.
I don't feel like we should teach anyone, regardless of gender, that go
That is
marry
true.
rich. That'll make you happy.
Unless you're my best friend and she wants to be a housewife. So
I'd love to be a house husband. My girlfriend listens to the pod. Oh, I guess I shouldn't dox you like that. My bad. Mike, can you bleep that out? Is there any way you could do that? Thank you. My girlfriend listens to the podcast, and if you're listening, I would love for you to go make a bunch of money so that I can stay home and not work for a living. That would be awesome. I will clean the floor on my hands and knees every day. After I finish playing video games and eating sandwiches on the couch.
there it is. That's what I was waiting for. I was like, after he's been sitting on his ass all day and making
after
everything
I've been
dirty.
doing other non-cleaning things. So, tangent again. But yeah.
Woo. Yeah. But so anyways, the Cinderella stuff. Like, I think it's interesting how many times it has been adapted. Just like, especially within one series of like a Cinderella story. Let's add on. It's like, how many times can we redo this? But at the same time, they're all different from each other too.
Mhm.
Like you expect the same thing, but they're all different.
Yeah.
Like we talk about like the 21st century as like the time when like we've run out of ideas and everything's a reboot. But like the Cinderella stuff's kind of to the extreme.
Mhm.
Like if you think about like going to the idea of like Marvel too, like and how they kind of like reimagine some of their like characters. Like the first one that comes to mind for MCU is like how they go from they still use Tony Stark, but they like just change the environment of the war. Like when he was first written, it was about the Vietnam War, and then in the movie, it's about the conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah.
So like, but these kind of like fairy tale ones have been around for a lot longer than like the comic book heroes, so they've had a lot more time to be adapted, but have also like gone through a lot like more drastic change in narrative.
Yeah. Well, it's because they want like the younger audience and to be a family-oriented family movie, so that multiple people can watch it multiple times. And I think about like the Nutcracker as well. Like it started off as just like a suite for an orchestra, and then the ballet and everything. And now the recent movie Nutcracker and Seven Realms, Four Realms.
Yeah.
The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. That was in 2018. Like, it's been adapted to like fit the context as well, because Clara's godfather that she goes to see, that she gets or grandfather that she gets the Nutcracker from, is Morgan Freeman, and like that's a Black character that wouldn't have had that role of like the inventor and like rich person who could give away everything. Like,
what culture did the Nutcracker come from? Is
it
that
was
German? I mean, it's not like
German.
Yeah, in medieval Germany, you probably wouldn't have seen too many people of color.
Yeah.
Don't let me assume.
I know it's like Northern Europe, I think. So it might have been like Germany or.
Well, because it was Tchaikovsky, and it's Tchaikovsky. No, he's Russian. Russian.
Well,
So
Russia,
he
either
definitely
way.
wouldn't have seen.
Too many people of color now.
Yeah. But like, even with the Cinderella movies, like they adapt to fit what's going on in the world. Like this Cinderella movie, even though, it's set in a time when there's a king and like they have, like a typical Cinderella story you would think of, it's still like the storyline and how everything ends is more for today's society.
Yeah, we adapt and change, so our stories do too. So, and it's nice to use a character and like a narrative that we're used to. So you get a household name, so you get people to watch it, and like you want people to watch your movie. So if you are like, I want to tell this message that's slightly different, because I feel like my childhood stories aren't the stories I want to be telling to my kids, but I still like this base idea that I'm going through and working through that way. So anyway,
yeah, I guess because we're talking about how movies change for the times, and of course, just on top of that, they have to try and change anyways a little bit, because no one wants to watch an exact like remake. It's got to be different a little bit, because that's how they can make money. It's like, did I watch the live action Fox and the Hound? I did not, because
there was a live action Fox and the Hound.
Yeah.
What?
Live action? It's like not live action, well, like like animated, like 3D, like it's on Disney Plus. But I never watched it because I kind of assumed it'd be just like the original.
Oh, yeah. Wait, I have to look this up. I love Fox and the Hound.
No. I said, no, sorry, not Fox and the Hound, not Fox and the Hound. Oh man,
Okay.
I meant Lady and the Tramp.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
You had me going there for a sec. I was so excited. I love the Fox.
Dare you, Isaac?
No, sorry. I had a conversation today about Fox and the Hound, which is why it was still bonking around. That movie's sad as heck. Why do you love it, Brendan?
My dad,
because it's friendship.
We hit a point where my dad said we can't watch it anymore because it's too sad.
That was my dad's favorite Disney movie.
Our dads are different.
My dad is like, I love watching my children cry.
Yeah. My dad's
Bambi
like crying, and
is
he's
sad.
like, I don't like this.
Okay.
Bambi is sad.
Bambi and Happy?
Yes, but they shoot the mom. Like,
Someone
relatively
to be a hero, you gotta be.
Okay.
To be a hero, you have to be an
Disney
orphan.
Movie, yeah. Every Disney movie starts with a death. Like Mufasa dies. That's the saddest one. Is Mufasa's death, because they actually build his character first.
Yeah.
Like you kind of like, dad, and like this with Bambi's mom. It's like, okay, she's in the movie for like 5 minutes. Mufasa's in for the whole first act.
Well, then you've also got the fox's name is Oliver, right?
No.
Yes.
No, it's not. It's not Oliver. Is
Todd.
it?
Todd is the fox.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. Oliver. That's a
Oliver and
different-
Company.
Yeah.
But he's an orange cat.
Yes.
Yeah. But Todd's
I'm
mom
not
also
completely
dies
stupid.
Yeah.
because, like, the whole way that fox hunting works is you try and find the den and, like, start a fire on one side, have the dogs on the other, smoke them out. Like,
Let's stop talking about murdering foxes. I don't want to kill
Sorry.
foxes.
But like, we're going on with you have to be an orphan first to be the hero. Like,
So adaptation.
we could talk about Loki with that too. Like, Loki becomes an orphan.
What are you
Is an
talking
orphan
about?
first.
Loki has a mother and a father. Both great.
His mother
parental
dies,
figures.
and so does his father.
Orphaned
Odin
at
is a great father
1500.
figure. Watch What If and tell me that Loki is better off without Odin. Wink.
I mean,
Any of you
you
watch
don't
this
have
week's
to watch
Yeah,
What If to know
I
that he's
watched-
better off without Odin.
I watched it and I loved it. All right. I mean that counts as an adaptation, right? Kind of.
Adaptation? What
Yeah.
If?
Yeah.
I mean that's a comic book series that
I mean,
they're
they're
bringing
all
from.
adapted. Yeah.
I just yeah.
So
But also I there was like this big I was actually listening to a different podcast recently, and I know, sorry, I don't mean to cheat on our podcast, but I do enjoy other podcasts.
same,
And they
same.
mentioned that like Disney like tries to they were talking about copyright infringement, and they're like Disney tries to co-opt all these like stories that they like adapted from fairy tales, and there's like almost all of them were like some fairy tale or something before they're like, but no, this is we've done so much to this character, it's ours now, to try and like keep it out of public domain. But like Cinderella, Snow White, Peter Pan, like all of these things that are like public domain stories and public domain characters that like anyone can use, but they're like, no, we did it different, so you can't use it like us. But they used it like the same way as the original character, so you kind of can't use it.
So really quick to finish off the last tangent. I didn't realize that Kurt Russell was the voice of Cooper, the Hound from The Fox and the Hound.
Oh, that would have been a young Kurt Russell.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
but
I'm
anyway,
a hound dog.
I always forget that what's his nuts is in Pocahontas. Why can't I think of his name? Mel Gibson.
Oh.
yeah.
I always forget it's Mel Gibson, and then I'll watch Pocahontas. I'm like,
I
Mel
mean,
Gibson.
my great however many greats uncle doesn't make an appearance though in Pocahontas, even though he married her. Disney. John Rolfe. John Rolfe married Pocahontas, not John Smith.
You're related to him?
Okay, I was gonna say you're gonna skip over the fact that you're related.
Yeah. My uncle is the perfecter of tobacco. That's what he's known for, besides taking Pocahontas to England. I think her Catholic name became Elizabeth, and then she died of smallpox
And
in
then she
England.
died. Yeah.
Yep. But Disney doesn't want to talk about that. They just want happy John Smith story.
Let's
Oh wait,
get an
so this is
adaptation
like the
on her life.
happiest.
Yeah.
This is like the happiest episode of Raving Geeks we've ever had. We're just talking about smoking foxes out of their dens and like Native Americans dying of smallpox, and great.
And this is why we
Perfect.
make adaptions that are different.
Yeah.
To block out the pain.
But
Also,
I
Isaac, I
wanted
have to
to-
point out, you keep saying adaptions. Isn't it adaptations?
It is. I've adapted my speech.
I'm
I
not,
mean,
like,
he wrote
criticizing, but I'm just
adoptions
making sure that-
earlier.
Adaptations. That's all right.
Oh, don't change it. I'm just making sure that I'm not saying the wrong word.
No, I'm saying the wrong word.
But anyways, so going back to what you were saying with Peter Pan, there's actually copyright that J.M. Barrie still has, like his foundation still has the copyright for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like Disney had to pay his foundation to be able to even make the original animated, but then they like screwed up part of it. Like they didn't stay true to the original play that he wrote.
Not as much death.
Not as much
well,
kidnapping children.
It's
Is it
more
still
of, like,
kidnapping if it's a child kidnapping another child?
Isn't that the definition of kidnapping? Is a child?
No,
Yeah.
a child kidnapping another child.
Oh, but in the original story, Peter Pan isn't a child; he's a demon.
Oh, let's not talk
No.
about that.
Well,
Oh, he was a child and then
Yeah.
became the angel of death.
debatable, but I
That's
think that was
symbolism.
after the yeah. But the movie that came out in 2003 with Jeremy Sumter playing Peter Pan and Jason Isaacs as Hook /
Yeah.
Mr. Darling, Lucius Malfoy was Captain James Hook.
He's in so much stuff; it's really funny.
That Peter Pan is a lot closer to the original script that Jay and Barry wrote. But then you also have like the adaptation of the movie Pan that came out a few years ago, and probably about 5 years ago when I say a few, with where it was like the origin story of Pan, which people weren't happy with because they made Hook and Peter to be friends. And then also Tiger Lily wasn't a girl, she was a adult. But it also added that Blackbeard, played by Hugh Jackman, was Peter's grandfather.
You know, creative liberties, I guess. Well, I mean, if you're talking about Pan, we got to talk about the movie Hook, which was
I love the movie Hook.
So good.
Yes. I absolutely love Robin
Disney,
Williams.
Right? That's not Disney?
No, it is Disney.
It's Disney?
It's Disney.
Man, that was
it's not a typical Disney, but it's Disney.
It's Disney.
Yeah. It was.
Gosh.
I love that film because
an adult Peter Pan that goes back.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
kind of
Rufio,
long, but it's good.
I love Rufio. And then the kid with the little lost boy with the dimples. Oh, he was so cute.
You're doing it, Peter. Sorry. Oh man, that's my family loves that movie.
And then Toodles gets his marbles back, and he was literally saying, I can't find my marbles, not my brain is going insane.
I mean, he wasn't insane, but yes. If there's are we only talking about film adaptations, or because there's also book adaptations? Well, there's like book adaptations, like the book Peter and the Starcatchers is an adaptation of Peter Pan, and I love that book. And it's kind of like, it's also like a prequel.
You've read the entire series, right?
I've only read the first book.
Okay.
Which is like the Peter Pan story, basically.
Yeah.
And it's also a play. So there's another adaptation.
And then that one's another one that's like adapted for the times too. Like that one becomes more about, you know, home and family than the original, like, I guess original story. Like, I guess when I think of like the Peter Pan story with like the Lost, like the Disney one, it's like, oh, like it's about like, yes, you have like, you can build this life other places, but they, at the end, the kids end up appreciating their original home. But like I feel like Peter and the Starcatcher is about like, I don't have one.
Yeah.
So where do I go from here?
Orphans, Lost Boys, which I mean, not gonna lie, I think it's a more compelling plot than Peter going and taking 3 rich kids from England and showing them around a magical world. I'd much prefer a story about underdogs and finding a home in a place that they don't have one.
You've also got the adaptation of Peter Pan in Once Upon a Time.
Oh, yeah.
Where Peter is evil, as well as Henry's great-grandfather, and is the Rumpelstiltskin's father.
Yeah.
But he's played by Robbie Kay, who's like our age.
Yeah, he's young Peter, and then there's his shadow. Oh man, I do like the take on Peter Pan. I mean, I like the take on Hook from Once Upon a Time as well. How can you not? Oh man.
And then another like story about like, other than another like thing at Disney, took over. Snow White had a couple of I think they released in the same year, was Snow White and the Huntsman, and I think it was Mirror Mirror.
Yes.
Was what it was called. Mirror Mirror was really good. The thing that like stuck out to me is like the mirror was like this alternate dimension, which I thought was a cool update. To the like, because in the past the mirror is just like, oh, the magic's gonna show you what this is, and it's like, no, it's like this dark alternate universe that you could like go in and get trapped in, and it's weird.
Yeah. Well, and then there was also, they made the play of the apple at the end because they really didn't use like the poisoned apple throughout much of it. And then like at the end they're like, have the little old lady, oh, here you go, Snow White. She's like, age before beauty. Like, oh. But that one, because I don't generally like, is it Lily James? Is that her name? The actress who played Snow White in that.
Oh, I don't remember who played Snow White in Mirror Mirror. I can look it up though.
She was the person who played Clary in the Shadowhunters movie. Not the TV show, the movie.
Lily Collins.
But like, I've never fully liked her acting. Like there are times that all of a sudden it's like, oh hey, you could show more emotion, but for the most part, for me, she's kind of dry. But like this one, I was like, no, like she did a good job for that role, and I think part of it was the script too. But like that was a good role for her.
And that one was like a darker take on Disney's version of Snow White, which I think kind of
Yeah.
harkened back to more of the original. But then Snow White and the Huntsman was like a whole different thing.
Yeah,
That's like
it's
Snow White fights back.
Which
Yep.
I don't even. There's barely any dwarves in that one.
No, not really.
It's really just a muscular huntsman that.
Wasn't it Chris Hemsworth?
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Wasn't there a sequel?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's called The Huntsman. And the reason why Kristen Stewart wasn't in it is because it was rumored that she was having an affair with the director of the first one and therefore could not come back for it. But the second one follows the fact that the evil queen, Charlize Theron, had a sister, and Charlize Theron, I don't know, or the baby just died itself, but I think killed the baby of her sister because she wanted her sister's like power and attention and wanted her sister to be evil like her. But essentially her sister adopts all these kids to make them like her family, but also like kind of turns them into an army of sorts. Because like she teaches them how to fight and stuff. So like that's why the huntsman knows how to fight. And there's like a subplot of the huntsman having lover and like telling you why he was a drunk in the first Snow White and the Huntsman. And
it all makes sense. I never saw the second one, but I did see the first one in theaters.
I've seen bits and pieces of the second. So
I was, because when we were talking about Cinderella, I was like, it's weird because like Snow White is like one of the first like Disney movie, really, and it was like not a lot of adaptations. Said it right that time. But I don't know. Are you guys familiar with Sydney White and the Seven Dorks? With Amanda Bynes as Sydney White. It's about Sydney White, a girl going to college, and she somehow moves into a fraternity, but it's like the nerd fraternity, and it's seven dorks. And so it's all these seven different guys that all kind of like have different personalities that kind of match up with the dwarves. It's very cheesy. There is like a prince figure that she's trying to be with. It's great. It's not great.
Would we consider like Scott Pilgrim to kind of be a Snow White adaptation? Because he has to fight the seven evil.
Stretch.
You could really stretch
the seven evil X's idea.
Make the elastic.
Okay, I mean, seven is just a number. You know, like seven, not just a number, but like seven is a number that's found throughout history.
Yeah.
Seven deadly sins, seven virtues. You know, so I don't know if I would go that far. I'm sure you can make the argument, though.
I don't want to make the argument. I just popped in my head.
Please, Brendan.
Would you like to have Chris Evans be in a Snow White adaptation?
Oh yes.
Yeah, I want him to play Snow White.
Yeah. We don't
as
have
long
a
as
lot
we
of
get
those.
Anthony Mackie to play Cinderella.
I want to get some gender bent Disney princesses.
I feel like there was a Cinderella. It was called Rags. It was called Rags, and it had
Oh, was it the one on Nickelodeon?
Yeah, and it was a guy who like wanted to be a singer or a dancer.
And he worked at like a. Oh dang! Isn't there like a bunch of different Disney movies? Like Disney Nickelodeon. Like there was another one that came out at the same time. Wasn't it like Let It Shine? That's not the same thing though.
It wasn't the same thing, but
that one was more like
I think the duo that I have on DVD is Rags and Big Time Movie from Big Time Rush. I think were those two.
Yeah, those would have been about the same time.
But yes, so gender switching. Rags was, how did I forget about Rags? That one had Keke Palmer in it though, so that's why you're thinking of Let It Shine, because Keke Palmer was in Rags, as well as Max Schneider. And then a whole bunch of other people. Drake Bell was in it. But yeah, he worked in, I think it was a music store or something, I thought, or like his stepfather's restaurant or something. And like his one stepbrother was nice to him, but then the other one wasn't, because he was following his dad's example. And Yeah, that one was a pretty good movie too. Like, you think of Nickelodeon, you expect like cheesy movies, but it was pretty good.
Mhm.
Oh,
No,
whoa, Nickelodeon has some movies.
they have
That's
some
all I
movies.
got to
Hey,
say.
just go check out Paramount Plus.
They
I'd
brought
love-
I believe
iCarly
that's where
back.
they're housed.
I'd love to be sponsored by Paramount Plus.
And there's our weekly sponsorship. Yes, Paramount Plus. Would you like to sponsor? I think we should make this a weekly bit. We apply for sponsorship from a different
Various
From a different
streaming service.
streaming
not
service?
necessarily a streaming service because we'll
Looking
run
at
out of
you,
those
Apple TV.
Yeah,
Next
yeah,
week.
but like each like a different like dome of geek culture. We'll give our reasons why. So Paramount Plus, we really like talking about Nickelodeon movies. That would be
We love
our main plug. We'd bring in all of the nostalgia from Nickelodeon to get
We'd
all of our massive
have our
audience on
own
board.
segment.
Mhm.
hmm we Raving Geeks, once they'll have a partnership with CM Life will have a partnership with Paramount Plus, and our the video of our podcast will just start airing as episodes and seasons on Paramount Plus. It's just more content for you guys. So anyway,
Another adaptation. I know we talked about Red Riding Hood earlier, but we do have the Amanda Seyfried Red Riding Hood movie that came out in 2011. Have
well,
neither of you
if we're
seen it?
talking about Red Riding Hood adaptations, I know what you're talking about. If we're talking about Red Riding Hood adaptations, we got to talk about Hoodwinked.
Yeah.
Oh my
You
gosh.
guys ever see that? Oh my gosh, it was such a good
Yes!
movie.
That one was
I
just
was
so
watching
crazy too.
So for those of you who haven't seen Hoodwinked, this is like an animated movie that is like kind of a detective story, like a whodunit in
Yeah.
the Red Riding Hood universe of like, oh, the wolf was trying to kill Riding Hood, but then like this big heist happened, and who took all the stuff? And it's just this weird like wild ride, and the grandma's like kind of like a badass that goes like
Yeah.
skiing and stuff. And then there was a sequel that was also pretty good, and it was really
I
weird.
never saw the sequel, but
I didn't
Hoodwinked,
see the
I mean,
sequel
the
either.
animation was like so weird because it looked like it would have been one of those like fake movies, you
It
know?
was like
Where
clay. It
it's-
wasn't like the full clay. Like
Yeah.
I think it
some of
was
the older
DreamWorks
stuff,
that
but,
did
like,
that, right?
Yeah,
But
I think so.
really liked the humor. It was fantastic. Oh my gosh, you just opened up a lockbox in my brain.
But that's
like,
another
and they
updated
go on an
story.
adventure too.
Yeah.
They like I just remember this part with a goat that has horns that are so big that he uses them as a rocking chair. Oh my gosh, what is this movie?
It's
Ugh.
craziness. It's full on craziness.
Hoodwinked.
And that's another like update. Like the story of Red Riding Hood has always been like a tale. Like don't go in the woods, don't go to strange places. But this one is basically like, well, don't assume things about people that would be, that couldn't be negative. But also like anyone can be the hero, even the people that are supposed to be the victims.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is a really good message compared to little girls don't go in the woods, and they must be saved by big strong lumberjacks.
That want to be
Because
actors.
otherwise they'll be whisked away by the bad boys.
I mean,
Called the wolf.
we could just keep throwing in Into the Woods though, because they also have Red Riding Hood, and in the movie Johnny
But
Depp
Isaac,
plays
haven't
the
you
big
been
bad
hearing
wolf.
me this whole episode? Don't go into the woods. That's the whole thing.
Into the woods, into the woods, to grandmother's house. Oh man, so good. When I was thinking about adaptations today, almost got me that time. Besides like Disney ones, I was thinking about how movies, they get more modern and like they change to focus on newer audiences. The Grinch, because like obviously there's the original The Grinch, well there's the book, and then there's the movie of The Grinch, which is almost like a page by page exact telling.
The animated
It's a classic. Yeah, the cartoon one, and then there's the live action with Jim Carrey, which has a lot of adult humor, and it's a fantastic movie in my opinion.
I watched that in 7th grade in school, and I got grossed out by the termites actually crawling through his
teeth?
smile.
That part gets me gross every single time. But then
And my friend's next to me, and he's like, it's just computer animated. I'm like, yeah, but it's still gross.
I didn't want to see it. But then they made a new adaptation. There's the newer one. I think is it
Benedict
DreamWorks?
Cumberbatch.
Oh, with
Benedict
Benedict
Cumberbatch.
Cumberbatch. And it's like in that one, the Grinch is barely even a mean person. Like, I mean, it's a good movie, but it's like he's not as mean, and everything's a lot more modern. Like he goes down and goes shopping. He like sees
Yeah.
the people regularly, and there's a lot more like there's a whole subplot about a girl, and it's like it's really trying to get to like a younger audience, and it's like
Mhm.
I don't know.
I will say my niece loved that movie, to the point of watching it many times. But also, Build-A-Bear had a Grinch come out with that one, and it was super cute. And I almost got it. I did not get it.
He's a cute
But
Grinch. I'm not gonna
he
lie. He's fuzzy. He's not as gross at all.
But he was also like
He has a
he was
scarf.
between the chaotic lawful, like he was in that chaotic lawful, chaotic neutral, and just chaotic bad, like in that area, because like when he takes the pickles or whatever out of the
Yeah,
one lady's basket, opens it, eats it, and is like, nope, spits back in, closes it, puts it in another person. So I was like, dude.
Yeah. He still does crimes that we've seen YouTubers probably do as well that would still get them in trouble.
Yep.
Just
Also-
generally inconvenience people.
Also, Pentatonix was in it as Who's that were singing.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, they were the ones
Modern
that
cultural
was
reference.
I think it was God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen that they were singing when it's like the stomping coming towards the Grinch, and then he's able to escape into the store, was Pentatonix. So
That's funny. I need to watch that one. I didn't watch the Benedict Cumberbatch version.
It's not my favorite of the Grinches. But it's worth the watch.
Mine's still the original animated one. I like that. But
by the way,
It depends on what mood I'm in for.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so like two things. One is off topic, going back to Hoodwinked. That was out in 2005,
5.
which is like what? Did not think it was that old. But for the Jim Carrey version, there's the scene where he is trying to like make everything on the table like crash and break, and he rips out the tablecloth, and everything stayed in place. So him going back and like shoving it all off was unscripted, but they kept it in, and I was like, but that works because it shows you the original Grinch being mean and angry and just like, I don't care about shit. Let me just destroy it all.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
I kind of like changes the idea of like the original. It's like it's supposed to show like the Grinch's growth from this like awful person, but this one, it sounds like the new one's like, oh, we don't want to like create this really awful role model for kids because you're supposed to end up liking him at the end. So let's not make him too bad. Is it like that?
Yeah. The new one, he's kind of just like antisocial.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also, it plays into the what the Jim Carrey version came out with was of like he was bullied and stuff. Like like they show, the one neighbor that's like, oh hey dude, like come on down. But like for the most part, like you kind of, he lives far away in the mountain of trash. And on sad topics, so the Grinch, how all of his possessions are from the dump. That means that Max was a Christmas puppy who got thrown away, and the Grinch saved him. So like there is a redeeming quality of the Grinch, whether we I fully told it right away, but just implications that you realize in the movies. But so the Grinch saves him. So the Grinch is a good guy if you're nice to him and like don't give him a reason to hate you.
Yeah.
Which also the Max in the new version was like absolutely adorable. Like, I mean, he kind of took advantage. I mean, he took advantage of Max a lot, but also just like the fact that Max was like, "Oh, I need a bowl. Like, here, let me do all this."
Yeah.
It did silly stuff. Like, it was so cute. I loved it.
Mm-hmm. So, does that wrap up our conversation of adaptations? I think we covered a lot of stuff.
Adaptations and adaptions, both of them.
Adaptations and adaptions. Well, there's our episode title. But yeah, just over time, stories change, as do people. So and so do our values and beliefs. So it's time to reflect those. And some people are doing a great job. And there are a lot of stories we didn't mention that haven't adapted and haven't changed. So for film creators out there, find those that aren't updated, that don't reflect the way we think now, and then find a way to turn it into a new story, because that is a good way to carry on traditions as well, while keeping things modern. So,
Yes.
So
as
I
always
also
here.
just found out really quick that there was a 2006 musical film adaptation of Red Riding Hood that starred Henry Cavill.
And
I'm
now
gonna
I know what
go-
I'm doing tonight.
Go look that up.
We're gonna go find it. Oh, breaking news. I meant to mention this in our geek news segment, but I forgot. So there are rumors about Spider-Man No Way Home that Tom Holland may be making a cameo appearance in the film.
Tom Holland, the actor.
Yeah.
Who
the
is
guy
playing
from Dune.
Spider-Man?
I don't know what you're talking about. Tom Holland might be in Spider-Man
Timothy
No Way Home.
Chalamet, or however you say his name.
No. Oh wait, Tom Holland's not in Dune. What was the other one that he was just in?
A lot of stuff.
He was in a lot of stuff. But anyway,
Chaos
no.
Walking?
No.
There's that
Tom
one.
Holland.
The
This is
devil all
supposed to
the
be a
time?
joke, but it's the joke hit missed.
You say it's a joke, but I mean, if it's a movie about the multiverse, that would be really funny if it was like, oh, here's a version of.
I just thought it was funny to go like, oh, this guy we already know is in the movie. He's gonna be in the movie. But
Wait.
anyway, as always here on Raving Geeks,
Go ahead.
we like to end with some recommendations for our viewers, whether that be movies, video games, comics, or anything else geeky. So, what do y'all want to recommend this week?
Well, Ben Barnes, who played Prince Caspian in the Narnian Chronicles,
What a guy.
as well as General Kerrigan in the Netflix show Shadow and Bone, recently released a song called 1111. And I listened to it for like the entirety for the first time today. And that man has an absolutely beautiful voice. At one point, he goes up and hits a high note, and I was in my car going, "Excuse me, you just did what?" It was very good. But so on that note, besides listening to that song, I am recommending the Narnian movies: The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian, as well as The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. All three awesome movies.
Two of them have Ben Barnes in them.
Yes, they do. And all of them have William Moseley in it, my childhood crush. So yeah, that's mine.
My recommendation, just because you mentioned Ben Barnes and you mentioned Henry Cavill, I have an actual recommendation, but also just to bring this up, the movie Stardust, based on the book by Neil Gaiman, fantastic. Ben Barnes is in it as a character, as the main character's dad at one point. Henry Cavill's in it as an uptight British man named Humphrey, who's blonde. But besides that, it's super good. It's got Robert De Niro, Michelle Pfeiffer, that white gold. It's fantastic. But my actual recommendation is so from the people that made Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor, both are fantastic on Netflix. They just came out with a miniseries of 7 episodes called Midnight Mass, which is also like an eerie horror show. And I watched 6 of the 7 episodes. I have 1 left, and it's so good. I highly recommend it. Takes place on a small island, and it's like weird things start happening. Some supernatural things as well. So yeah, watch that. Brendan?
Nice. Oh yeah, my first recommendation, real quick. If you haven't been watching it, Marvel What If. We got 1 episode left. This week's episode was
Woohoo!
some prime MCU content. Absolutely insane. So many Easter eggs, so much like plot happened. Highly recommend. But then just this one isn't like a super specific recommendation, but if you've kind of like based off what we have seen, if you ever wanted to find some reimaginings of some classic fairy tales, there's I think it was from the 90s, but a book called Politically Correct Bedtime Stories or Politically Correct Fairy Tales that kind of reimagine some of these stories, like trying to not appropriate cultures and peoples or rely on stereotypes. But it's not just that book. Like there's a lot of like re-updated versions that are supposed to be like kind of comedic. So I just go on a Google search. Most of them are open source, like free, like PDFs to read. So those are always fun. But that's all we have for y'all today. Thank you for joining us here at Raving Geeks. Make sure to comment wherever you're listening from. Still looking for, intro questions, topics, anything y'all want to hear from us. So go for it. We'd love to hear what you thought about today's episode or anything you want to hear from us in the future. So also feel free to reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter at Raving Geeks, as well as our TikTok. We are not able to respond to DMs on TikTok yet, but we're
slide notes under our doors. We'll respond.
We can respond to comments. We can respond to comments on TikTok.
We can respond to comments on TikTok. So comment, not to DM. So as always, I have been Brendan Valentine, along with my fellow co-hosts
Hope Gooderl.
And I'm the adaptation of Isaac Hunter.
Stay geeky and have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.